IMS.
We're going to show you some of the amazing stories of survival.
And that's why for this storm and the next, the people at MSNBC will do whatever it takes. Go wherever the story takes them, so you can be there too. MSNBC.
Good evening, I'm Joe Scarborough. You're watching MSNBC's continuing coverage of Hurricane Rita. You're looking right now, a map of Rita. What an ugly orange and dark red mass as it's heading towards the Texas-Louisiana border, actually maybe taking a tick a bit to the east, which would certainly spell problems for Lake Charles and other areas along the border. Right here, we're showing you images right now of Rita as it's blowing across Texas. These are images from Beaumont, Texas, which may be, and we're saying may be, still too early to tell, but may be on the better side of the storm. And certainly there is a better side of the storm, as everybody knows. You want to be on the west side of the eye if at all possible. That's not going to happen in southwest Louisiana tonight, but let's bring in a pro here to talk about it and talk to NBC's Weather Plus, Bill Cairns. He's got the very latest on Hurricane Rita at this hour. Bill, give us the latest update.
Well, Joe, you have to give yourself a pat in the back, too, because you've been saying for the last 3 days that these things tend to turn to the right when they go through the Gulf. You're being the expert living down there. And now, for the first time, the Hurricane Center is actually saying landfall is going to be in Louisiana instead of in Texas. Now, it's only a small shift just across the border here, but it makes a big difference for areas like Port Arthur. Instead of getting that storm surge moving in through the entire region there into the port, now it looks like your winds will be stronger out of the north, blowing the water out of the port. So the flooding potential for the storm surge in Port Arthur is less. But unfortunately for everyone there in Cameron Parish, Lake Charles southwards, it's much worse. And you can see the center of the storm. You can see this black line indicates the wiggles and wobbles it's been taking. We still expect areas like Port Arthur and Beaumont to go through the western eye wall, but it looks like the worst, that northeastern eye wall, will be moving inland over the top of Lake Charles. That's kind of swampy area, so it really shouldn't weaken all that quickly. It's at 120-mile-per-hour winds now. That's equal to Ivan, and that's also equal to what Dennis was earlier this year. Those storms both affecting the Florida Panhandle, especially around Pensacola. You can clearly see where the eye is, and this is where the worst wind damage is. This is Cameron Parish, one of the most unpopulated areas of the Gulf. There's still 10,000 people that live in that area. Hopefully they're all out of this region. And these are the towns that are going to get the worst storm surge. And when we see the pictures tomorrow afternoon, towns like Holly Beach, the town of Cameron, 2,000 people live there, Grand Chenier and Pecan Island, some small towns that populate this swampy area, but those are the towns that you'll probably see the storm surge going through houses, the wind damage and that. So feel bad for these people tonight. It's an unpopulated area, but those people are evacuating. They're probably watching TV, and now they know that the worst of the storm is probably going to change their lives and their town forever. As far as the projected forecast path, you can see it now for the first time on the east side here of Port Arthur, in between Lake Charles and Port Arthur, crossing first through Louisiana, then into areas of East Texas. We still think one of the biggest stories out of the storm, Joe, is going to be the rainfall over the next 3 to 4 days as the system stalls out around Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. That's the latest from the Hurricane Center, and that's the latest from me, too.
All right, thanks so much, Bill Cairns from NBC's Weather Plus. And as Bill was talking about, we have been saying it's going to take a slight tick to the right. It usually does. It has, certainly over the past year. Ivan did it. And I remember when I was reporting that night and Ivan took a tick to the right, I remember saying that was going to be deadly for my hometown. Unfortunately, it was. The same thing happened with Katrina. Same thing happened with Rita. And friends, I'm telling you, 45 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, oh, actually even a lot less than 100 miles, 50 miles can make a huge difference. And again, in the case of a killer storm like this, it can make the difference between life and death. And you're hearing tonight, and you've been hearing tonight from people who don't know anything about hurricanes, that it's only a Category 3. Let me tell you, when you've got a storm system that packs 120-mile-an-hour winds, the worst part of it is, again, the storm surge. The storm surge comes on shore, and unfortunately, a lot of those towns, low-lying towns along the Louisiana coastline, just may not be there tomorrow morning. Let's go to MSNBC's own Rita Cosby. She's live tonight in Galveston, Texas. Rita, talk about what the conditions are like on the west storm of the eye.
Yeah, you know, we're supposed to be on the clean side of it, where it's not supposed to be so bad, but the gusts, Joe, are very, very strong here. In fact, I'm going to put up my little wind meter up and just see what we get. This is a mile gust that we're experiencing right now, and it's 40 miles an hour. So we've seen some pretty strong gusts right here. In fact, I recorded a 55-mile-an-hour gust just a few seconds ago. Some of them are starting to knock me off my feet a little bit. Lots of wind, lots of rain, and you talked about the storm surge. That's a big concern here in Galveston. You know, as you know, Joe, because this is a very small little island. It's only 2 to 3 miles wide. It's about 30 miles long. And if this took a direct heat, which was the original expectation, this whole place could have been wiped out. It would have been disastrous for it. There's a seawall alongside, but it's not only protecting just really basically the whole part of the island, it's only protecting about half of the island or so. And let me do a check of my wind machine here real quick as I'm with you live, Joe. This one is 48 miles an hour. So, and this is not one of the more severe ones that we've experienced. Again, pretty dramatic stuff. And again, this is the clean side of the island. They're expecting, at the very least, that there will be some severe flooding, not just on this part, but on the western side, where the seawall is not necessarily intact. It's very low at that part of the island. I went by there, Joe, in fact, about 6-7 hours ago, before the storm really kicked up. There was already flooding taking place there. A lot of the homes are on stilts. A lot of the businesses are close to the water. We're probably going to see some wind damage here. We're going to also see some flooding. And the lights, some of the lights came back on, but before I was standing in a very well-lit parking lot. You can see behind me that the power is going to go out. They'll probably lose some communications and some power here as well. And again, this is the good news because they did not get a direct hit. Joe, back to you.
You know, Rita, the thing is, though, even though you're on the so-called clean side of the eye, you're also on a barrier island, and because these islands are so vulnerable to hurricanes, really doesn't matter what side of the eye you're on there. It's a dangerous situation. You've been there all day. Talk about that community. How many people stayed behind, and are those people who stayed behind on edge tonight?
Yeah, they are definitely on edge because this place is not immune to hurricanes. This had the worst natural disaster in U.S. history in 1900, September 8th, 1900. They had a horrible hurricane that took place here. And at that point, the hurricane just wiped out the entire island. 12,000 people, 12,000 people, which is a massive number, were wiped out September 8th to 1900 because of that horrible hurricane that came through here. So folks were not taking any chances. They were extraordinarily nervous, Joe, especially when we heard it was a Category 5, that it was heading directly to Galveston. At that point, folks were really worried. When they heard that it tapered down slightly and was also moving slightly, of course, to the east of us here, they were very happy to see that. In terms of the population, there's about 60,000 people here on Galveston Island, on the small barrier island. And right now, tonight, there are about, we're told, about 2,000 or 3,000 people. They also have a curfew in effect. It looks like a lot of people have heeded that curfew. In addition, Joe, I also want to bring up, we just found out there was a fire at the post office. We've seen some transformers blow. We've seen a lot of the fire trucks driving back and forth. So there's a lot of issues that are going to come, even though they did get spared for the most part. They're going to have a lot of after effects after the storm as well.
Rita, talk about what it's like standing out in near right now. Hurricane gale force winds. As the night goes on, you're going to be actually standing out in the middle of hurricane gale force winds. Try to explain to people. You know, everybody always loves joking about when people like myself or you get out in the winds. But, of course, the reason why you do it is you try to give people at home, whether it's in Kansas or whether it's in Iowa or somewhere in Middle America that's never experienced this type of storm, you're trying to give them some sort of perspective about how intense the winds are. Try to explain it to people at home what you're going through right now.
You know, it's an incredible feeling. I'm only 5'4", so it doesn't take a lot, unfortunately, to knock me off my feet. But, you know, the winds here, it's important for folks at home to get a sense of what we're going through because, you know, we're the lucky ones. You know, we have a home to go back to. A lot of the folks here, you know, Mother Nature can do just incredible, intense damage. And that's why all the folks here, especially based on the history of what's happened here, batten down the hatches just to make sure that they are safe and sound. But to feel this firsthand, you know, some of these gusts are really intense, Joe. Let me just give you another wind meter, too, just to see what, and this is not that's severe. This is a 35-mile-an-hour wind, and this is one of the lighter gusts. But it's pretty incredible. You know, you try to keep your balance, you try to stand up, but it is an amazing feeling to feel Mother Nature. And again, this is the good news here. I can't imagine what the folks are feeling like on the other part of the island. And we understand that about 2 or 3 hours from now, as you point out, it's going to be gale force winds. I may be having to hold on to something at that point.
You may be. Stay with us, Rita. I'll tell you what we're going to do right now. We're going to go into local coverage, and we're going to go to our local affiliate. It's KPRC, and let's pick up their coverage live right now.
The hurricane. Our friends over in Louisiana and Cameron Parish are getting the real brunt of this storm with the storm surge, which we really feared down in Port Arthur. Right. Looks like those levees just might hold if this continues.
Okay, well, now, my understanding was they were worried that they were going to have a surge that came to top the levees. Right. We don't think that's going to happen?
I don't think so, because the surge is usually east of the center, and that's over toward Cameron. So it looks like with this north wind pushing that water out, it'll keep it from going over the levees.
Okay, and if the wind velocity here stays to about 100 miles an hour, that's probably whatever damage is caused by that is damage we can live with.
Exactly. Now the winds, believe it or not, are going to get stronger here in Beaumont. This is not the end of this. We're going to see even stronger winds. The eye of the hurricane should hit the coast around 2 o'clock, and we should see the highest winds in Beaumont at 4 o'clock. We have many, many hours yet to go.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you for talking to us.
Right.
Stay safe.
All right, thanks.
Sorry you lost your station today.
Well, glad to get on here for you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. Right. Once again, Greg Boswick, he's a local broadcaster, local meteorologist with the CBS affiliate. He doesn't have a station anymore. They were knocked off the air. So far, though, as we were discussing, we haven't seen a lot of damage, and the hope here among the city officials and first responders is that we're not going to see anything too much worse, although we know the winds are going to pick up. The big worry they had here was that storm surge, and the guessing now, or the prediction now, is it may not top the levees, and that's a big relief, because flooding was a major concern, major thing they were worried about. And again, once this passes through, this town is totally prepared. Right now, it's essentially a ghost town. Most of the people have been evacuated. They flew 10,000 people out of here in the last 36 hours. As soon as this storm passes through, they've got about 200 emergency response vehicles, ambulance, police cars, everything you can imagine, on 2 ships down in the harbor, the Beaumont Harbor. And as soon as this passes through, they're going to be back on the street, getting things back in order. Dominique, Bill?
Okay, Phil, thank you very much. Again, Phil Archer reporting live in Beaumont tonight. So the chief meteorologist from the CBS affiliate there, CBS, actually none of the affiliates are on the air in Beaumont.
They have, what, 3 stations in Beaumont?
3
and
stations.
2 of them went off the air yesterday
and
in advance of the storm.
Was the last one, and that was today. We know that because we have 2 gals over here who used to work at Beaumont Station, so they're giving us the tips from the side of the news desk here. But again, the chief meteorologist who was with Frank confirmed wind speed 60 miles an hour, gusts could easily be 90 to 100 miles per hour.
Let's check it out where Stephen Dean is.
Okay,
Stephen is on the boardwalk in Kemah.
We are getting some incredibly intense wind gusts here. We're in the 50 to 60 mile an hour range, and those are just really quick gusts. They come in here and they make a low-pitched howling noise, very, very intense noise here. Also, another noise that just startled me right before I began speaking to you, one of the waves just came in off the water here off of Galveston Bay and just slammed into the boardwalk behind me and rattled this railing and rattled the sign here just like that. They just come up and surprise you. Earlier in the evening, we were able to see the swelling current just coming toward us, and then it would slam into the boardwalk. Now it's a bit of a surprise because of nightfall. I can tell you that we're getting some very vivid flashes of lightning here, a lightning show, but we're not hearing the thunder because it is so loud here with the hurricane winds. But the lightning is flashing here. Also, we're getting flashes of transformers blowing up in the distance. Power is out in some neighborhoods. Also, we have seen tree limbs being snapped off of the trees and downed in yards and downed near homes. So there will be some damage to pick up, but it could be that this sort of activity, this 50 to 60 mile an hour gust down here, maybe that's all they see on the Kemah boardwalk and in the Kemah community because of where the storm headed. If so, they'll just have some minor cleanup to do. We are live on the Kemah boardwalk, Galveston County. I'm Stephen Dean, KPRC Local 2.
Okay, Stephen, thank you very much. Chief Meteorologist Frank Billingsley setting up, and he has a very important interview coming up in roughly 30 seconds. Right, Frank?
Yes, in fact, we've been talking throughout this whole event with the National Hurricane Center, and we have Max Mayfield, and I'll hear shortly.
Okay, that we've been watching local coverage from KPRC, and we'll be back with more extended coverage following Hurricane Rita. Stay with us.
Verizon fiber optic broadband network.
Connecting more people
to gaming, video, music, and each other. My job.
My job, make the network even stronger.
Faster, more powerful.
With our growing team of experts, we're building the only large-scale, fully fiber optic network in America.
To deliver the next generation, phone, internet, and TV. I'm proud.
I'm proud.
I'm proud.
We're proud to be Verizon. Our people, our network.
You challenged everything that came before you, and nothing looked or felt or sounded the same way again. That was you then, and the great thing is, that's still you now. We are the personal advisors of Ameriprise Financial, the next generation of American Express financial advisors. Because a generation as unique as this needs a new generation of personal financial planning.
Farmers Health Point.